I've been holding back the review of this watch for a while now, for more than a year actually. There is a good reason for it, well, kinda, which I will explain. However, there is no excuse for me to hide this wonderful SPB197 Alpinist any longer. And also, more than 3 years after its introduction, should you still get it and should you pay retail? So, without any further ado, let's take a closer look at it. Hello and welcome back. Yes, you probably noticed I've got LED lights over there, which, according to YouTube gurus, pretty much makes me a professional YouTuber. That is worthy of your subscription, so do hit that subscribe button if you haven't already done so. About a year ago, I came across an opportunity to buy a watch on discount from my local jeweler. And my wife decided if the discount was high enough, she will buy it for me. Feeling really lucky, I thought this is a great opportunity for me finally to get an Alpinist that was on my wish list for a while. And I was really looking to buy the SPB121 model, which is kind of considered a successor of the real Alpinist SARP017, but this SPB197 was right next to it, and that mountain glacier dial looked so good. But because I could walk out of the shop only with one watch that day, I faced with a choice between these two. As you probably guessed it, I went for SPB197, the mountain glacier dial. So, the Seiko Alpinist doesn't really need any introduction. With rich heritage dating back to the 1960s, it was initially designed for Japanese mountain climbers and therefore named Alpinist. Since then, it has evolved into a legendary line of watches known for their robustness and reliability, and this SPB197 is no exception. After I bought this SPB197, I also took a closer look into the limited edition SPB199 controversy. There is a lot of information about it on the interweb, so I'm not going to go into the details, but the long and the short of it is that Seiko sold a limited edition of pretty much the same watch, but with the model number SPB199, 2020 of them to be precise. These limited edition watches came with 2 leather straps and, of course, at a premium price. And then, a few months later, Seiko released this SPB197, which is pretty much the same watch apart from one small but important detail, and it came on a decent stainless steel bracelet, and to add insult to injury, it was priced a few $100s cheaper. Needless to say, it made some people really not happy, to say the least. Like I said, there is a lot of information on the interweb if you want to look further into this. One thing I will say though, I did come across some private sellers online who were trying to pass this European edition, which is not limited by the way, as a 2020 limited one. So, do watch out. The watches are pretty much identical, but the limited edition has a limited edition number, let's say 101 out of 2020 on the back case, while this European edition, of course, doesn't. Also, the limited edition comes in a different packaging with all the associated paraphernalia and straps, while this SPB197 comes in a bit more modest Seiko box. Okay, for completeness, let's briefly go over the dimensions and specifications. We have 38.3mm case diameter, or just over 39mm if we measure across the case. We have 20mm lugs, and this watch loves different straps. No wonder Seiko shipped the limited edition with straps only. Case height is 12.9mm as I measured it, and we have Sapphire Crystal, including the Cyclop, for a really good scratch resistance. And we have Seiko in-house 6R35 movement with 70 hours of power reserve. Lug tip to lug tip distance is 46.3mm, perfect for pretty much most wrist sizes, from 6 inches and up. On a leather strap, this watch weighs only 79 grams, and on a supplied stainless steel bracelet, it weighs 147 grams. The supplied stainless steel bracelet should cover up to 8¼ inch wrist, or up to 21 centimeters in circumference. We have a 316L stainless steel case. The case is finished to a really high standard, as we would expect from Seiko. The top of the lugs are brushed, and the rest of the case is mirror polished, including the fixed bezel and the crown guards. The lugs curve down really nicely as well for a good wrist comfort. Obviously, Seiko perfected the Alpinist case design in the 60 years since it was introduced. We have two crowns on this watch, neither of them are signed. Looks like these days only Seikos priced above $1,000 get the signed crown, and actually not always. The main crown is screwed down, the threading and the operation is really smooth. You know you are handling a very well designed and assembled tool watch. The second crown operates the compass in a rotating bezel. This second crown is also well proportioned and operation is very smooth. This crown is not screwed down, so Seiko must have implemented some design magic to provide this watch with 200 meters of water resistance, which is pretty cool. Turning this watch around and we have a see-through back case with a lovely view of the Seiko in-house 6R35 movement. The back case is screwed down and also mirror polished. And just before you ask, the see-through glass is not sapphire. In general, a very well sculpted and executed case, and actually quite elegant for a tool watch. And yes, did I mention 200 meters of water resistance? Crystal. Well, we have a perfectly flat sapphire crystal on this watch. The anti-reflective coating is very effective. I believe it is even somewhat better than on previous SARB models. If you have both in your possession, it would be interesting if you could share your experience with the AR coating and legibility of these watches in the comments. Movement. As I mentioned earlier, we have in-house Seiko 6R35 movement here. Seiko only decorated the rotor with what looks like Geneva stripes. The rest of the movement has a very basic finish, but I still don't mind a see-through back. I think it is a nice touch on this dress/tool watch. This movement's claim to fame is the enhanced power reserve of 70 hours, that is almost 3 days. It beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour, it has 24 joules and an accuracy of -15 to +25 seconds per day, which is a step up from a very commonly used in Seiko 5 lineup watches 4R35 movement, also known as NH35 dial. Even though the rest of this watch is excellent, it is the dial that is the star of the show here. This dial was the reason that myself and probably thousands of watch enthusiasts choose this watch. Seiko calls it Mountain Glacier, and I think the name is perfectly suited. This dial is a true chameleon, changing the color from color of the ocean wave with a sunburst to blue or green or even dull gray when it had enough of entertaining you with all the different colors it has on offer. And the reason I was putting off this review was that I wasn't sure that filming this dial on a smartphone will do it justice. And now I finally got a camera I hope is good enough to convey the look of this stunning dial. Okay, moving on, apart from the dial background, we actually also have what looks like applied indices, with even indices marked with Arabic numerals. The logo is also applied and the text above 6 o'clock marker is printed, as well as the minute chaptering. Now, about the indices, they look applied to me under the macro lens. However, I heard from some reviewers that this could have been pressed into the dial. Personally, I'm not convinced unless I disassemble the watch, which I'm not going to do. So if you have definite information about this, please do share with us in the comments. We have a date window at 3 o'clock position. I know that Cyclop is not everyone's cup of tea, but I'm so used to it and I think the magnification level on this one is pretty much perfect. We also have really well crafted cathedral hands. The partly skeletonized design, the shape and proportions of the hands are just right. In short, I really like the dial. On the perimeter we have the rotating compass bezel with all markings printed. Yes, bezel markings don't align perfectly with our indices. I think the watch community mostly got over this by now. Some say it is an optical illusion because the bezel has a slight up and down play. Some say, who cares? Well, still would be nice if it did align though. And of course, Seiko equipped this watch with a sufficient lume. Seiko applied enough of its proprietary LumiBright to ensure a good legibility in the dark. Okay, it is not Seiko dive watch level, but then It is not a dive watch. Bracelet, and we definitely need to talk about the bracelet. We have inverted end links, which of course helps with comfortable wrist fit. The end links integrate well with the case, okay, maybe not perfectly, but the fit is snug and the brushed finish is very similar between the case locks and the end links. Further, we have 3-piece well-finished solid links with brushed top and high-polished sides. The links are connected by pins and the bracelet tolerances are pretty tight, so it is a good quality bracelet. The bracelet tapers from 20mm to 18mm by the clasp. The good news continues with the milled scissor mechanism double pusher clasp. I like the chamfers on the inside of the clasp for a better wrist comfort, good attention to detail. And the double pusher mechanism is very robust, but I think at this point Seiko designers thought that they went too far. If they gave us a fully milled clasp with sufficient macro adjustments, that would definitely make a perfect clasp. Okay, the clasp is actually not bad. The double pusher function is flawless and reassuring, but yeah, 2 macro adjustments? Really, Seiko? Luckily, there are aftermarket bracelets available, so we do have options. In summary, I really like this watch. It has a beautiful appearance and the Alpinist SPB197 is a true adventurous tool, with a stunning dial and yes, pretty good bracelet, despite me complaining about the clasp. And as usual, I would recommend getting one on the bracelet rather than on the strap. And to answer my question at the start of this video, should you actually get it now 3 years later after its introduction? Well, personally I think, of course, if you are looking for an Alpinist, this would be a great addition to any collection, with all the limited European edition saga adding a bit of spice to the backstory of this watch. Yes, we watch collectors will like a good story associated with our timepieces. As for the price, at least in the UK, the second-hand market doesn't look that competitive. Well, not at the point of making this video anyway, while you can still get a good discounts on the brand new watches from retailers if you look hard enough. So possibly for now I would recommend trying to get it brand new, unless you truly got a great second-hand deal, of course. So here you have it. If you want to see my reviews of Seiko GMT, of its comparison to another GMT watch, then click one of these links on the screen or in the description of this video. And I hope you find this review helpful, and if you do, don't forget to like, subscribe and hit that notification bell if you haven't already done so. And as always, thank you for watching, take care, and I will see you in the next one.